Ha 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 ha. So great to see you recently.
This is awkward for everybody.
Yeah, awkward. Kristi, thank you so much for joining me on the Doing It for Attention podcast.
I'm excited that we finally got this scheduled.
Well, it was great to meet you face to face as well for the first time.
You're way taller in person.
He's taller. I think I'm the same height as your husband, which, if I remember,
yes,
5'8".
For those listening, that's not very tall.
No, 173 centimeters.
Oh, what an interesting way to put it. When you say it that way, it sounds much taller than it actually is.
It does. Yeah, 5'8" doesn't sound great. I still remember my mum telling me, she was like, "You're perfectly average." I think she was relating to my height.
That's better than being below average.
Yeah, that's fair, which I am now, because 5'10" I think is average. But
oh, is it?
I love to start these podcasts with insulting myself and ruining my self-esteem. So thank you for joining me on that. I really appreciate it.
I'm more than happy to help.
Excellent. So I want to jump into a couple of things, and I've watched you over the years kind of mature with your content on LinkedIn. Obviously, you've gained a massive following. There's lots of stuff you put out there, which, for the most part, I agree with some of it. 99.9% of it. There might be some bits that I'll push back on, but
I think I'm more interested in the 0.1% you don't agree with me on.
You know what? I'm struggling, actually, especially the recent stuff you put out there. But it's really good content, and I think it's important that people with real experience share their success and actually share their failures, because I think a lot of people hide from that stuff, and you're very candid about what you shouldn't haven't done, and I think it's really usple content. So
well, that's because I failed more than I succeeded, so there's just more of that content.
Yeah, exactly. Excellent. So I'm going to jump straight into some of the bits you put out there recently, and sort of take it from there. So a post you put out, which I thought was great, was around at the customer conference. I saw a lot of faces, kind of like a lot of gasps when you said it. But we're all in sales. Get over it. So what do you mean by that? Because obviously your audience was customer success professionals, and they're two very different roles, or are they? But
are they? I think we're all the same role, operating at different milestones in the customer journey, if I'm being honest. Because listen, I think here's what happens. Customer success professionals decided that they were going to do this work because it wasn't sales, right? Like, I'm here to add value. I'm here to make our customers happy. Like, what does that even mean? It's not measurable. But the minute you put a metric to it, it translates into business, and that business number and metric is revenue. Yeah. So I don't care how you go about getting there. Your job is there because you're expected to keep and grow your customers. I don't care if you're the person having the commercial conversation or not. The work you do facilitates that outcome. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't care if you own a quota, don't own a quota, have a target, don't have a target. We're all in sales. Whether you're selling value, you're selling product, you're selling an outcome, it doesn't matter, right? We're all in sales. So I think it's important for customer success professionals to kind of get out of their own way and stop being afraid of it, or stop getting the ick by it, because it's not gross to sell.
Yeah.
We're in a commercial relationship with our customers. We forget that, right? I don't do charitable work. I'm not here, I'm volunteering. I don't do this for free. Right? Yeah. We are all here. We're getting paid to do a job, and our job is to make sure our customers stay and grow. It's as simple as that.
Why do you think there's so much resistance? Less so now, I think, but why do you think it's such an ick, to use your term?
Well, I think it's like, it comes down to a couple of things, right? I always think about things through the lens of like skill, will, and hill. One, do I have the skills to do this? Most of these professionals don't. They're not coming from traditional sales backgrounds. They haven't been formally trained, right? If I asked any of them, like, hey, have you ever been trained in Challenger or Sandler or any like formal sales methodology? The answer is usually no. They've not done sales before in a formal sense. So it's the lack of familiarity with the work that's required. So one, I think that there is the lack of skill. They don't have it. And I think we've got a problem here because companies aren't making the investment in their employees to help them develop the skills. But I'm an accountability queen, and if it was me and I didn't have those skills, I would be doing the work to go get those skills. So I think that's the first thing, is they don't have the skills to do it. Second thing, the will. They're not willing to do it. Let's be honest, like, people don't want to have this responsibility because they don't want to be accountable for it, right? Like, oh, well, if the customer churns and that's on me, but the product sucks, like that's not my fault, right? Like we don't want to be accountable for these outcomes when in the meantime, we are responsible for orchestrating all of our teams around this. So there's this will issue and there's the hill, right? The work is hard. And can we do the hard things to drive those outcomes? I don't know. So when I think about it through that lens, I think that's kind of what we're faced with. I think there's this fear because of lack of skill, and not willing to do it because it's not the work that they signed up for or the work that they thought they'd be doing. And now it's hard.
Cool. Strong start. So what would you say is a customer success belief that people repeat that you think is nonsense? Just to go straight in there.
Yeah. Okay. Big one that customer success professionals repeat is that sales doesn't care about the customer. The sales team doesn't care about the customer. That all they're in it for they don't care. They're just going to sell to anybody. They just care about hitting their target and their quota. I feel like that is perpetuated throughout the customer success. I won't say maybe at a leadership level, but I definitely think frontline teams who are receiving accounts very much feel that way, right? We've deviated from the ICP. We didn't set proper expectations. We sold the wrong thing. We sold on the roadmap. We didn't get the right information. We didn't do the proper discovery. We didn't build the right relationships. I think customer success has a little bit of like a brother-sister relationship with sales where they're a bit of a victim to the circumstances of the situation that the organization might be creating or perpetuating. So that would be the first thing. I strongly disagree. I don't think we have a sales problem. I think we have a misalignment problem. And I think that starts at the top of the organization. So if you have a divide between those two teams, I don't think it's good versus bad, or I think that it's the organization needing to get things more aligned between these two functions.
If you're a CS professional in a business though, where it does feel disconnected, and in a market where there's fear to kind of look for opportunity because there's a lot of people looking right now, it's a very client-led market. What would you say to a CSM who is in that position where there's misalignment? How can they kind of empower themselves to improve their circumstances within a business, or are they doomed if the leadership just aren't supporting alignment?
Listen, at the end of the day, we can't change things from the bottom up, but I can change what's happening left to right or me, right? Maybe I can't change everything that's going all the way up to the top, but I can work better with my peers and my partners. So the first thing I would say is like facilitate better communication, more transparency, be honest, bring data, bring insights, right? Hey, look, the last 5 deals you closed, Bob, they were great. I appreciate it. Yay, revenue. But I've noticed that 3 of these customers, they are in the e-commerce industry, and we know that is not a strong industry for us, right? Share learnings and insights. Or, hey, look, we didn't have access to the executive when the handoff occurred. As a result, we've been slow to get them onboarded. We're now seeing that because of that delay, these customers are in onboarding 128 days longer than the average customer. Yeah, so sharing those insights helps them understand the nuances and the challenges that we're faced with. So just start to share information and facilitate stronger, better communication, being honest and being transparent, but supporting it with information that goes beyond I think, I believe, I feel. Nobody cares about that.
Such a good point. It's supporting sentiment with data.
Right. And we don't do that, right? It's I think, I feel, I believe, right? Like, who cares? Yeah. And it's funny, it kind of translates in a way to when we're in recruitment, right? I can almost tell you when I get a message from a candidate, it's written a certain way where I know the CV I'm about to receive is going to have no mention of metrics on it. So I'll post a role online or just say we're looking for a senior CSM or a VP, et cetera. And the message will be really generic to say, hey, Luke, I've seen you posted a VP of CS role or a CSM position. It'd be great to grab 5 minutes so I can tell you why I'm a good fit for the role. And there's kind of no value statement there. When you've got 400 applicants coming through, I want to speak to everyone, but we just don't have enough time. So the messages that catch my attention are, hey, Luke, I saw you're looking to hire for a VP of CS for an e-com company. I actually work for an e-com business at the moment. We focus on the following. I saw you mentioned that they're looking after ARR of 10 mil. Great. I've got a team of 5, yada, yada, yada. And kind of building the selling themselves. Selling themselves.
Yeah. And I think that can be true to inter-organizational sales of yourself, because again, like you said, if it's always sentiment, no one wants to listen. But if you can get people on side with, look, if we just have clearer comms around the ICP and why you feel they're a good fit, then that should reduce our onboarding time by X amount, which will enable us to focus on the following. You get paid for upsell, even though you're not doing the upsell. So, yeah.
Right,
Cool.
right. It's that kind of communication that I feel like is lacking. And I don't know if it's fear, if it's, I feel like if I say it, no one's going to listen to me, which goes back to that victim mindset. Like there's probably a lot of things perpetuating what's not happening. But if I'm not a leader and I'm an IC frontline person, I'm going to do the best I can to change my experience.
Yeah, awesome. Good. So the next point is something I posted maybe a week ago. You definitely copied my content here.
I definitely did. I only try to write content inspired by you.
Yeah, I can see that. Why does yours get more views than mine? There's probably another question around that as well. I think you have more.
Trust me, with the new algorithm update, I promise you it ain't even that great.
No, you've got a dedicated space to take nice pictures, where I'm just in my sweaty office. It doesn't land the same. It's why I hide behind GIFs. When I met Stino for the first time, he was like, "Oh," he goes, "You're the meme guy, aren't you?" For all the things I wanted to be known for, I was like, "That's probably not it."
But I think maybe there's worse things to be known for. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, usually people just say, "Oh, you're the recruiter," and it's the look. Or they're like, "Oh,
that's fair.
You're taller than I thought," which I know it's bullshit. That's not what you said, actually.
Sitting, so it's great.
That's not what you said.
You know.
So one thing you posted about was around it's kind of like role title fallacy. So people are almost obsessed with the optics of the role as opposed to the scope and what they're doing. So do you think? And I don't necessarily think it's isolated to CS, but do you think we're just becoming a little bit obsessed with what it looks like as opposed to what it actually is in terms of job title? And
I mean, I feel like the title thing is really funny because I do feel like the title is more for other people and less for myself, right? Like, so if I want the bigger title, I want the optics of power, control, influence, money, right? Like I want what it signals outside. Yeah. But if you think about it, the real driver for us should be, what is the scope of the impact we can have on the business? And I think that also differentiates like good leaders versus great leaders. What are you like? Why are you in this? Why are you doing this? Some people want the power and the control, and other people want the influence over impact, right? I want to be able to drive change. I want my customers to have a better experience. I want them to get more value out of our solution. In order for me to do that, I need to be able to change X, Y, Z, right? Like in order to do those things, you might need to have that larger scoped role and title. Yeah. But I think it's the difference of chasing the title versus chasing that objective, which is usually tied to scope. And I feel like that's where we kind of lost the plot, is we've gone all in on these titles. And I've told people all the time, I think my best example is myself, right? I was the CCO at Client Success. I was a CCO. Sure. My company was small. I'm not the same as the CCO at Adobe or Oracle, right? Like we are not the same. Our titles are the same. And so I tell people, I'm like, stop being so obsessed with what you're called and think about, what are you responsible for? What are the skills you're developing? What is the opportunity you have to drive the business forward? Those are the things that we should be leaning into more thoughtfully than I think we are today.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask, is what should people be chasing if it's not the titles? But like you said, it's the learnings. It's what are you actually achieving in the position. And it's very strange, but you'll see heads of CS positions paying 60K, 70K, and there'll be other heads of CS positions paying 170. It's so broad, but there's on the lower level roles, sometimes there's no team management, there's no strategy. You're managing a book of 1 million ARR. There's 50 customers. Right. So
that's when we think about it, right? The scope of impact and influence.
Yeah.
I know that people might be thinking like, oh yeah, well, I influence all of our revenue. But if your revenue is $500,000 versus $500 million, that scope is very different, even if you're responsible for revenue, even if you have the same title. So but listen, I also, let me not pretend like titles don't matter. I do think that titles matter in an organization. I do think that part of your career trajectory, it should matter. I just think it shouldn't be the driving force behind what opportunities you consider, what you apply to, promotions that you're chasing. I just don't want us to be chasing the wrong things. And I feel like that's where the how we stack rank titles in order of importance, it just shouldn't be at the top.
I almost feel like we're just trailing behind. It's almost like that legacy mindset that we had within marketing. So, and I talk about this a lot, and I know you read all of my content, so you would have seen that I posted this before, all of it. But I put the statement out around marketing being the colouring in department many years ago, and it kind of had to fight for its positioning in an organisation. And now whenever you think of a SaaS business or any company, marketing is such a fundamental part of the business. It's so data driven, there's ROI at every touch point. And CS has kind of trailed that, and it feels like it's catching up to that kind of undervalued, misrepresented organisation within the organisation. It's become its own kind of hub. And I think that's why people previously used to have marketing manager titles, but only manage marketing. They didn't manage people. They weren't managers. And you have the same in CS. It's kind of, I think now we're realizing actually the broader impact of the position is beyond the title. And I think if you chase the responsibilities, like personally, if you chase the responsibilities and garner as much exposure as possible, if I was hiring for a business that needed a head of CS, but your title is a CSM, but you're team leading 7 people, you've helped build the strategy in line with the VP, and you've done lots of leadership, head of position things, then you're a consideration for the job, in my opinion. You know,
yes,
it doesn't matter if
you're
not called it. Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
but I think there is this. And listen, you know, because you're in the space. I am not hiring as much as you are, but I know that people say, well, I won't even be considered because of the title that I hold, right? Like even whether it's the applicant tracking systems or if it's just recruiters looking at just the headline, sometimes that is a deterrent because it doesn't align and doesn't match. Now, I will say when I did my own hiring, I would skim titles, but I looked at what was beneath that before I rolled somebody in or out.
Yeah, makes sense. You talk a lot about the hustle culture in some of your previous posts. And there's kind of a shift from hustle culture to excuse culture. And we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but have we overcorrected in CS?
This is a sensitive one for a lot of people. I don't know that a lot of people really like my position or stance on this topic, but
that's why I brought it
up. Of course you did. Here's the reality, right? Like I do think that we came from a time where people were rewarded for working 100 hours a day and like nonstop and no boundaries and being always on and not taking vacation and working through sick days. I get it. That was celebrated. It was rewarded. It was like those were the people that got promoted. Those were where the opportunities lied. It was how much you gave.
Yeah.
And I think what happened is we tried to course correct, which I think was the right thing. I do think we need to move away from that because I don't even think that time is the right metric for us to be thinking about, right? Like how many hours I work shouldn't be the barometer of my success. It should be what is the impact of the work that I'm having?
Yeah.
So I do think we needed to course correct, and I do think we did that. But then the pendulum kept swinging, and it kept swinging the other way. And I feel like we got to this place where we lost ownership and accountability. It got to a point where we were like, oh, well, that's not my job, or I don't have to do that, or that makes me feel a certain way, or that wasn't part of the job that we discussed, or I shouldn't have to do the work before I get the opportunity. And then there was a lot of excuses, right? Like if something didn't happen, okay, move the deadline, move the timeline, or don't tell somebody that, they did something wrong because it's going to hurt somebody's feelings. And I just feel like we got to this place where it wasn't safe any longer to hold people accountable for the work that they are required to do in their job.
Yeah.
And sometimes that means hustling a little bit. Like, let's also not pretend that if you work in an early stage startup, I don't care what role you have, it's not a 9-to-5 job. And if you're looking for a 9-to-5 job, then go find a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah.
But don't take an opportunity that is going to require more because the stage that they're in, and then complain when you get there that this is too much work, or that this is infringing on my weekends or my nights, or I have 5:00 yoga and I can't be on that 5:30 meeting. I'm sorry, that's wrong.
Yeah.
So you have to understand that certain jobs require certain input, and sometimes that's time, and sometimes that is different boundaries and different requirements. And if you don't want to do that, that's okay.
Yeah.
But don't sign up for that and then complain when that's your reality.
Yeah, it's such a good point. And there is a lot of complaining around what businesses
There's so much
want.
complaining.
There's so much complaining. What businesses
There's just so
want.
much complaining.
Just in general. Yeah, it's not CS, just to be very clear. And we love customer
I mean, I
success.
complain about the complaining, so I mean,
Yeah, exactly. But no, what I find is that there is an accountability problem, and there's a lot of moaning about. So businesses want, and look, my opinion is I'm for whatever working setup works for the organisation. So that kind of goes back to what you've said. You know, some businesses at startup, scale up stage, it's all encompassing. You probably won't be able to pick your kids up at 3 o'clock from school, etc., 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 male or female, just to not gender anything. And that then becomes, well, actually, that business is really toxic, or they've got a horrible culture. And it's like, well, no. The company is actually a human a lot of the time behind it. And they're trying to build something because, you know, they're trying to build something for their family and for their future. And in order to do that, the mechanisms that they have set up within the business require a certain level of input, a certain level of investment, and also a certain level of control and oversight. And if that's how they want to scale their company, you've got two choices: work for them or don't work for them. But don't take to social media and say how terrible they are because I went through an interview process, and when the offer came through, they wanted me in the office 3 days a week. It did say it on the job spec, but I tried to negotiate it. It's like, it's just a waste of everyone's time. And again, like, you don't have to go and work for that business. But also, what I would say, in a market where it's client led, sometimes you have to make some sacrifices. And, you know, if you don't, and there's a lot more people looking, you're going to lose out because someone else will do it. And that's the reality of the market sometimes. But it will flip again, and there'll be fewer people looking and more companies hiring, and then all of a sudden candidates have more control. They'll start to dictate the terms. Businesses will become more flexible. They'll do things they don't normally do, and maybe they'll learn from it and they'll be better. Or maybe they'll get burnt and they'll want more people in the office the next time the market improves. So I think it's a massive accountability problem sometimes, where people just have to just be honest with themselves. Am I prepared to go and work for that type of organisation? If not, don't apply, and definitely don't call them toxic if it doesn't fit with what you want.
well, this goes back to the just like, if somebody or something doesn't align with what you feel or believe, it doesn't make it wrong,
No.
right?
No,
it just makes it not for you, and that's okay. Because
Yeah.
we're all allowed to operate the way that we need to be successful. I mean, I know a lot of people that, like yourself, right, who have gone out on their own, built their own businesses, and they're working harder and more now than they ever did working in an organization or another environment. And it's like, okay, great. I'm willing to put that in, right? These are the sacrifices and the commitments I'm willing to make this successful.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, anybody has that level of control. When people say I have no choice, I'm always like, no, you always have a choice.
Yeah.
You always have a choice. You get to decide. Do your choices have repercussions?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. If you sign up for an early stage company, you might need to be sales and marketing and CS and support and work 20 hours, but you get to decide if you take that job or not.
Yeah, exactly. Well, where do you think within CS teams accountability kind of breaks down? Should we move on?
I laugh because there's so many places. Okay, so here's the interesting thing about customer success as I see it. We are like the nucleus, right? We are at the center of the organization, and our job is to orchestrate everything around the customer's ability to use our product and to drive value from it. Which means we need to work with sales, we need to work with product, we need to work with marketing, we need to work with finance, we need to work with HR, right? Like, we have to work with all of these teams. And I think it's something really beautiful and unique about customer success is that we are at the center. Now, that said, we lose accountability around things like, oh, well, the product doesn't do what our customer needed to do, so that customer churns. Right? Well, did we set better expectations with them? Did we facilitate the right conversations? Did we work on workarounds? No. But, well, the product didn't do what it was supposed to do, right? So we relinquish ownership over that in that moment because it's not our job, not our responsibility, nothing we can impact. Yeah. There are always things we can do and decisions we make in all aspects of the business, right? Oh, well, sales didn't set proper expectations. Okay, so you set proper expectations. Then you go and do the thing that wasn't done. Don't worry about who did or didn't do it. If something needs to get done, you lean in. right? The customer is your responsibility at this stage. So do the work. Oh, well, marketing said they were going to do XYZ, or we have this event. Like, again, just lean in, or raise your hand, or do something about it. I think this whole, like, not my job, not my responsibility, this victim mindset is doing so much harm to our ability to be successful. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that will defend up and down that we already do too much and we're too responsible for everything. I don't see it that way. I think that we end up dropping things that don't serve our narrative, and then it gives us something to point at when things don't go right.
Right. Okay. Fair.
I'm going to be the most canceled person in customer success when you hear this. So sad.
No, the thing, honestly, the thing I love about you, Kristi, is you do deliver candor, but there's so much help and resources and support that you give as well. I think it's just a no bullshit approach, and I think that's really important. People need to hear it. Like some of the individuals that I really connected well with over the years, especially at events, have been the likes of Rab Dallowell. You know, he's an investor. He's an ex-CS professional, and I mention him all the time. It sounds like I've got a man crush on him. I am married to a woman as well. Just to be clear, just put that out there. But like, I remember him saying something that stuck with loads of people. You know, if you want a seat at the table, pull up a chair. You know, and it's like you have to make yourself known. You have to be accountable for revenue. You have to understand commercials, etc. And it's been the drum that's been beaten for a long time. You know, Dave Jackson, polarizing character sometimes. But I mean, you know, he wrote a book that feels pretty accurate to today, you know. And I'm sure a lot of the stuff you say today will just keep resonating and sticking. And people go, do you know what? It's probably the advice I didn't want to hear at the time, but I respect it now, and I needed to hear that, and they'll be really grateful for it. So that's my defense of anything.
So you're going to say, I'm going to get a lot of hate first, but then eventually they'll come around and see things my way?
Yeah.
I just want to know, like, how this story ends. Okay, is it positive for me? They're going to like me positive again, is what you're saying. Got it, love it.
It's net positive, yeah.
It's net positive. I'm always looking for net positive. Okay, great.
Yeah. Just what's funny is I just remember the next point as well, which feels like we're just diving deeper, but you've said the inconsistency in CS is getting worse. It was a post you put out.
You like picked a highlight reel of all of the most offensive things I've said about my community. And you chose to highlight them all on this one podcast. Okay, great. Usually what people do is they pick one of those things, not all of them, but that's okay. I'm here. I'm going to be accountable to the content that I put out there. So I say these
like
things,
I said, there's lots of really good content and helpful content out there. But that stuff isn't interesting.
I'm doing it for the plot. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what was this one that you just brought up again? Oh, the inconsistency. Okay. So here's my thoughts and philosophies on this. For a while, I think teams got really dialed in and almost overly prescriptive around how teams were supposed to operate in support of their customers. The way that I always viewed it was, I want to create a consistent experience. I don't care if you work with Mary, if you work with Bob on my team, your experience should be consistent. That doesn't mean same tone, same language, no, I'm not asking you to be robots of each other, but the experiences that we are designing intentionally for our customers should be consistent across the life cycle.
Yeah.
Well, that said, I think teams originally, they did a good job getting that dialed in. And we used traditional like customer success platforms, right? Like PlanHut and others. And we said, okay, great. We're going to build out these playbooks and we're going to have all this infrastructure already pre-designed. We're going to give people everything that they need so that they know what has to be done, by whom, when, how, and we're going to make sure that happens, right? And we're going to track it. Then all of a sudden, we are given the gift of AI. And while I love it, and I have been such a fan of like tinkering and trying and testing, the problem is that we gave it to all of our frontline teams and we said, go and tinker and try and test and go do these things. So you just went from having your team consistently operating against a pre-structured lifecycle management plan and now said, go tinker, try, and test. Everyone is doing whatever the hell they want, whenever the hell they want it, however they want. Like I've seen 18 versions of the same, business review deck in one company. I've been on calls with people who are doing onboarding with their customers, and I'm like, was that the same product as the other person was just onboarding me onto? Like, it's chaos because we've given them now too much freedom and autonomy And we didn't give clarity and direction. And so while I'm inspired by a lot of the innovation that's coming out of AI and all the work that we've done, we lost control. And the real impact to that is our inability to actually understand what moves the needle. If you think about scaling, right? We try to scale operations that work. It takes a lot of time to get that dialed in to figure out what works, to then say, okay, we are now ready to scale this because we have proven that this works. We just moved every single lever. It is like getting a keyboard and hitting every single button and then saying, well, what button did you hit that made that change? We don't know, right? And so I think that is the residual impact we are going to see and feel in our businesses is because of that sprawl. Yeah. And I said the same thing a long time ago when it came to like IT and like all of these like PLG products that came to market, right? So like everyone can go figure out whatever tech stack they want to use because it's PLG, right? It's free for any one person to use. So you've got Tony over here using 12 different products and you got Adriana over here using a whole bunch of her own tools. Technology was not meant to be democratized that way. You have no security, no control, no structure. So we dialed it in. We gave it a name. It was called Shadow IT. Well, now we got the same thing happening with AI and all the chaos that's driving. So my whole thing here is in order for us to understand what works and what doesn't, there needs to be consistency. We don't have that today.
Yeah. Do you watch the All In podcast at all?
Should I?
I'll send you a link. Really, really good. So it's a group of white middle-aged business, not. But it's
great! My favorite to take a nap to. Yay! Just kidding.
But basically, it's a group of billionaires who they're all tech entrepreneurs, and they're talking about AI, and they're talking about the next evolution of AI, and it's actually quite terrifying. So it's what you just talked about there is this kind of chaotic. Everyone's kind of building the same frameworks, processes, etc. Because it's information that's being kind of pumped in, right? And AI is not. It's creating new, but it's not creative like humans are. You know, it's not out in the field kind of figuring stuff out. It's all the data we fed it. So there's almost like a limitation as to how good it can be at the moment, but it is getting better. More information being put into it.
Yes.
But the next development is this AI structure that plugs into kind of everything autonomously, and it can access your emails, your personal data, your bank accounts, like everything. And they're talking about you could have a sales meeting booked in with a colleague or a QBR booked in with a customer. You could then access all of their data on the database, and it will effectively build everything for you for that QBR without doing much at all. Even the previous conversation you had with that customer, and just draw all that information together and support the outcome of that conversation, which it's now fed in very manually. You know, we're going to use AI to build this, build that. Okay, I want a piece of this, I want a bit of that. Okay, give me some alternative outcomes, and you select it. So we're still kind of being somewhat creative, but that terrifies me to think if everything's just there, plugged in, all your personal info. Yeah.
Okay, so does that mean you have not installed Claude Cowork?
No, I have not.
Okay,
I will not.
So you know what I did? I cleaned off one of my Macs. I work off of two computers, and I took one of my Macs and I actually did a factory reset on it and deleted everything that was on it. And now I'm just now putting what I want into the machine, and then I'm going to download Cowork onto this, so that way I can protect any financial information, anything that needs to be secure, customer related information, things like that. So I am controlling it from a security standpoint, but I don't know, there is something really cool about that innovation.
But it can completely arrange every part of your life as well, right? I think I'll lean into it at some point. I'll let someone else test it.
You're like,
first.
not today. You're like, well, you need to get somebody.
know.
Work out the kinks. Go figure out what doesn't work. You guys go fix it and then come back.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's a safe way to approach it. I don't hate that idea.
So jumping around a bit, because I love chaos. So when you're hiring, whenever you're hiring CS talent, what matters more for you than kind of CVs and, funnily enough, job titles? What's more important?
I think one of the things that I look for the most, which I probably am not going to get off of a CV, maybe contextually a little bit, but I'm looking for business acumen. I think sometimes we forget that at the end of the day, we are in a business role, right? It's not a service role. It's not a support role. We're in a business role. Like, we are our customer's business partner. And so the folks that know how to have business conversations, who know how to build strategic relationships, who understand, value output and aren't there who just want to be product experts, right? Like I don't need more of those. That's one of the things that I lean into a lot is that business acumen. I lean into intellectual curiosity. I think if that is a pillar to being successful in this role, you have to be able to understand how to ask great questions and do that discovery and really continue to ask why and interpret things with your customers, not about them. I see probably something else that I think is probably important, but I think maybe AI is making it a little less important is communication.
Right.
At the end of the day, we're still going to interact with our customers at some point in the journey, even if AI is doing the bulk of it today. I think that our ability to communicate effectively is still going to be paramount for us to be successful long-term with our customers. So those are some of the things that I think are most important to me. Now, the caveat here is I think this is important regardless, but I do see some non-commercial roles and some commercial roles. I do think you have to have some commercial rigor, right? Like you have to understand how to sell and what does that motion look like. Some roles you're directly related to selling and some you're influencing a sale. But regardless, you have to understand the fundamentals of sales to be successful in the roles.
Okay, excellent. And what's a massive red flag for you? So when you're interviewing, what's an immediate, should probably...
I want to make my customers happy. Anybody who says that, anybody who over-indexes on customer sentiment,
yeah.
I think you've missed the point of the work that we're here to do.
Yeah.
So anybody who says anything about happy or over-indexes on like NPS as a metric.
Voice of the customer? Does that give you the ick when you see voice of the customer on the CV? Any?
No, because voice of a customer is actually a really well-structured program when done well and right.
Okay.
It's NPS I have a problem with because I think that NPS as a metric is not effective. I actually think as a program, it's very effective because to me, anybody who's willing to give you feedback, it's an invitation for a conversation. So I like NPS as an action driver. It's a point in time for us to intervene, good, bad, or neutral, right? It doesn't matter. It's an invitation for us to intervene. I don't like people that think that they are accountable for a very successful NPS because it is a moment in time sentiment analysis that almost has nothing to do with your ability to do your job well. So if you're a CS professional and you are over-indexing on your direct correlation to NPS, I think you're getting it wrong.
Okay, that's fair. It's interesting. We obviously look at a lot of CVs, and I think... Do you know what? I'm going to run some stats on this, but I genuinely think at least half of the profiles we see have very little commercial accountability on them. So they don't talk about NRR.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
It's sad, but it doesn't surprise me, but it also is very telling of what we're seeing in the market.
Yeah. Well, if you're watching this and you don't know how to calculate your NRR, I actually built a really simple calculator, did a bit of vibe coding, and I posted a calculator recently. So super simple, but use it and you can figure it out, because if you've got metrics like that in your CV, it's the types of things that hiring managers will resonate with because you're speaking or starting to speak their language. So really important.
Or the language of the business.
Yeah.
Right? It's not anyone's language, although it might be your love language, but it's the language of the business.
Yeah, I always say, look, if you were stuck in the lift with the board, so it's lunchtime, you jumped in the lift, the CFO's to your left, the CEO's to your right, and they ask you, what do you do within the business? We haven't met before. I don't know why I made it creepy.
But now you're all in a car together.
Yeah.
You've been kidnapped by your CEO and your CFO. You don't know where you're going, but now they want to know what you do for
exactly.
work at their
company. And if you can't explain it quickly, then it's going to escalate.
We don't know where the car is going.
And it goes back to what you said almost at the very beginning. Actually, it's just it's the right language which will resonate with the recipient. And if it's the business owner, probably quite similar to the CFO. The CFO will be very numbers centric and care about percentages and growth and uplift, etc., territory, sales figures, whatever that looks like. The CEO probably has a little bit more give for kind of sentiment and excitement for managing a certain segment of customers, etc., and growing that, but then still wants the end result. Still wants to hear the number. So you can probably tell a little bit more of a story with a CEO and then finish it with some facts. CFO, just give me the numbers, you know? It's my 2 P's worth.
I'd say you're right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Quick fire, right? So
Oh, gosh.
no overthinking here. No overthinking. I just need you to
I don't think any. I just say things. I don't actually even think about what I say before I say it. So I think I'm made for this part of this segment. Let's go.
I will send you this before I post it. Don't worry. You can give me the thumbs up or thumbs down.
I mean,
Cool.
the ship has sailed. It's fine. You torched me in this entire episode. You put out all of my most polarizing content. It's fine. Here we are. Let's
We'll
go.
do another one. This is like the dark side, and then we'll do the.
Oh, good. There's going to be a light side. I love it.
Yeah. Right. What's the most underrated CS metric?
Time to first milestone.
Ooh, nice. What's the most overrated?
NPS.
A tool you love. Check sponsors.
It's got to be ChatGPT right now.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What was the last thing you searched for on ChatGPT that's not work related? Can you share it?
This isn't like a one sentence thing, so I gotta explain a little bit. So my daughter she's applying for colleges. One of the college prompts was, what song best describes your life to date?
Okay.
So I thought that was a really interesting question. So I last night was like, oh, I wonder what my song should be. And so I had ChatGPT interview me so that it could find out what song best represents me. And it was Run This Town by Jay-Z. And I was like, okay, I'm here for it.
I'm going to do mine, actually. That's
Yes.
Good. That's good. A tool you think is actually overrated?
Salesforce.
Okay. Awkward. I didn't say it. You're supposed to say allegedly, apparently, in the US at the moment. Then you can say whatever you want and you can't get sued.
Allegedly, it's Salesforce.
Excellent. Good. When you see competitive salary on a job description, what do you think?
Overpaying.
I always think underpaying.
Do you?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you're more intimate with the data.
Competitive usually means, what am I competing with? My bills. You know, it's competitive salary. I saw a role recently, and it was a digital CS position. And when I discovered the salary, it was like 45, 50K, and I just.
Oh, okay. Well, that's just embarrassing.
Yeah.
Oh, well, actually, I would say it's more insulting, but.
Combination.
Yeah.
Enterprise or SMB?
Enterprise.
Yeah. Revenue quota for a CSM, yes or no?
Yes.
CS Ops, hero or hype?
Hero.
Yeah, agreed. Are QBRs dead?
Yes.
I'm just going to edit Dave Jackson running in. Yes! Amazing. Cool. Good.
Did I make it to the end?
Yeah, you survived.
I really feel like I almost didn't there for a while. So you put me in the hot seat.
I did, and you know what? I'm going to apologise because I did pick a lot of the probably more polarising comments. But
No,
they're the
you
ones
did. You literally picked every post that I have that definitely will hit a hot button for somebody. So that's okay though. Like I don't need to be the most loved person in customer success.
No, like
I'll be the most honest.
Yeah, I think you're telling people what they need to hear. And
they just don't know they need to hear it yet. That's the problem.
There will be resistance, I'm sure, but both yourself and I, like I'm quite candid in my approach to things, and I think when we met, that was fairly clear. I was shocked by your level of candor, actually. I was quite frightened. No, I'm joking, but
interesting.
I genuinely think we sing from the same hymn sheet, and what's really clear is you're respected in the CS community, and there's a really great bunch of people. Especially at the customer conference, the people within the community as a whole are absolutely awesome, and everyone's trying to figure stuff out. So, like you said, there's been a lot of failures in your past, same as myself, and like anyone I've worked with that's ever been successful. You only learn from getting stuff wrong, which is painful. But if you can impart some of that knowledge on individuals and help them shortcut some of the challenges you've had. I feel that's one of the main drivers for you, pushing the content out there. There's probably an element of frustration because you just want people to do, better by themselves as well.
A little bit. No, but you're right though. I like to attribute most of my success has only come from me taking risk, which sometimes led to failures. And I think that if you're always succeeding, you're not trying hard enough, right? You're not pushing things forward. You're not driving that momentum in the business. So you have to fail. Like, it's not how big, maybe there's a scope of how big you fail. Maybe you don't want to burn down the ship, but you have to be testing and trying things and taking those calculated risks.
Yeah. What's your kind of parting advice to a budding CSM, CS leader? Like, what do you think is the one thing they should be focusing in on this quarter to really accelerate things?
Okay, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say something else because it's still my advice. It may not align with the question that you added on to your initial prompt there. I'm going to say check your sources. And the reason why is that there are a lot of people saying a lot of things who appear to be credible, but don't have the experience and don't have the expertise. So just don't believe everything you hear or see or read. Check your sources. Validate where it's coming from. Because there's just a lot of noise out there, whether it's in customer success or sales or marketing, it doesn't matter. Check your sources. Just because somebody's saying it doesn't mean it's true.
Yeah.
And it might not be based off of any experiences or reality that they've ever lived.
Yeah. And I can relate that back to CV writers, you know, any walk of life, personal trainers. You know, there's a lot of digital personal trainers popping up now, you know, that have never trained, but they have a level 3 gym trainer certification.
All of a sudden.
Exactly. But what I would say when it comes to things like CV writers, it's really easy to check credibility and experience. Just look at LinkedIn. Have they ever worked in your domain before? Is the person you're taking advice from successful in their domain, or are they just basing it on what they've read through other individuals? Are they just, you know, effectively recycling what they're hearing and not doing a great job of it? So,
right.
Yeah.
And this is also like there's a lot of AI content, so you just got to be careful. So if you check the sources, you'll know, is this coming from a place of experience and true expertise, or did ChatGPT just get it right?
Copy and paste it into ChatGPT because it will tell you whether it's written by AI as well. I do that a lot now.
Oh, interesting.
It just changes.
You have a lot of extra time on your hands, don't you?
A lot. Yeah. Well, basically, it's how I create content. I like the sound of that. I'll just take that and I'll chuck it in there. Basically, what I've just said to ignore is exactly what I do. So there we go. Cool. Kristi, you're awesome. You've been a star. Thank you so much for jumping on. Where can people find you?
2 places
Not
that
physically.
I recommend. Head over to, not physically, I cannot give you my address, or couldn't or shouldn't, I guess those are the same thing. Please head over to LinkedIn. You can connect with me there. I'm the only Kristi Faltorusso on LinkedIn, so please go follow along there, or you can head over to my website, which is just KristiFaltorusso.com, first name, last name.com, and I've got a ton of resources, a lot of information over there, a lot of content, so you can check me out there as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.